Ever felt that sting of being judged, that sharp pain when someone looks right through you, not seeing who you truly are, but only what's on the surface? Maybe you walked into a place and felt those eyes, those subtle glances that make you question your worth, your right to even be there? It's a feeling we all know, that knot in your stomach, that whisper of doubt in your ear. Have you ever experienced something like that? Tell me in the comments below. Where are you watching from today? It's amazing to see how far our stories can reach. And hey, before we dive into this incredibly moving story, if you're ready to feel some real emotions and maybe even shed a tear or two, go ahead and tap that like button. It tells me you're ready for a story that's just for you, a story that will resonate deep within your heart. Now, you might be thinking, a simple woman kicked out of a boutique? What's so special about that? Well, hold on to your hats, because what happened just 1 hour later will leave you absolutely speechless. This isn't just about a woman in a boutique. It's about appearances, about hidden truths, and about the kind of love that can move mountains. Get ready, because this story is going to take you on a roller coaster of emotions. Let's dive to see. The bell above the door of Elegance Defined chimed softly as Amelia stepped inside. She clutched her worn leather handbag, its familiar softness a small comfort in the face of the opulence surrounding her. The boutique was a haven of high fashion, with gleaming displays of designer dresses and sparkling jewelry that seemed to whisper of a world far removed from Amelia's own. She had come in search of a simple dress for her 10th wedding anniversary dinner, a quiet celebration with her husband. But the air in the boutique felt thick with judgment. The sales assistants, impeccably dressed and radiating an air of practiced sophistication, barely glanced her way. Amelia, in her plain cotton dress and comfortable shoes, felt invisible, a ghost in a world of glamour. She wandered through the racks, her fingers lightly brushing against fabrics that felt impossibly luxurious. A particular dress, a soft blue number with delicate lace detailing, caught her eye. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't extravagant, but it had a quiet elegance that appealed to her. As she reached out to touch it, a voice, sharp and laced with disdain, cut through the hushed atmosphere. "Excuse me, madam, but perhaps you're in the wrong place?" Amelia turned to see a woman, tall and slender with perfectly coiffed blonde hair, her face etched with an expression of thinly veiled disgust. This was Beatrice, the boutique's manager, a woman known for her sharp tongue and even sharper judgment. Amelia's cheeks flushed. "I was just looking at this dress," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Beatrice's lips curled into a condescending smile. "Looking is one thing, madam. Buying is quite another. Our clientele here appreciates quality and, shall we say, has the means to acquire it." Her eyes scanned Amelia's simple attire, lingering on her worn shoes with an air of blatant disapproval. The other sales assistants exchanged knowing glances, their whispers like tiny daggers piercing Amelia's heart. She felt a wave of humiliation wash over her. All she wanted was a nice dress for her anniversary, a small gesture of love for her husband. But here she was, being made to feel like she didn't belong, like she wasn't worthy. I do have the means," Amelia stammered, her voice trembling slightly. Beatrice laughed, a short, brittle sound that echoed through the boutique. "Of course, dear, and I'm sure you also have a pet unicorn at home. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual customers to attend to." She gestured toward a group of expensively dressed women who had just entered, their laughter tinkling like wind chimes. Amelia's heart sank. The pain of being so openly dismissed was sharp and immediate. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them back. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her cry. With her head held high, despite the burning shame she felt, Amelia turned and walked toward the exit. "And perhaps try the discount store down the street, dear," Beatrice called after her, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "They might have something more suitable for your budget." Amelia didn't respond. She simply walked out, the chime of the bell sounding like a mocking farewell. The warm afternoon sun felt cold on her skin as she stepped onto the busy sidewalk. The humiliation lingered, a bitter taste in her mouth. All she wanted was to feel special for her anniversary. But this experience had left her feeling anything but. She walked for a while, her thoughts a jumbled mess of hurt and anger. How could someone be so cruel, So quick to judge based on appearances. Didn't they know that clothes and money didn't define a person's worth? Finally, she reached a small park, its green benches offering a welcome respite. She sat down, the worn leather of her handbag feeling familiar and grounding. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions raging inside her. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a text from her husband, Franklin. "Running a bit late, my love. But don't worry, I have a surprise for you. See you at the restaurant at 7. A small smile touched Amelia's lips. Franklin always knew how to make her feel better. He never cared about fancy clothes or expensive things. He loved her for who she was, for her kind heart and gentle spirit. As she sat there, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb across the street. A chauffeur in a crisp uniform stepped out and opened the rear door. Amelia watched, curious, as a tall, impeccably dressed man emerged. He had an air of quiet power about him, his tailored suit and expensive watch hinting at a life of considerable wealth. The man looked around, his eyes scanning the park. Then, his gaze locked onto Amelia, and a warm, loving smile spread across his face. He started walking toward her, his steps purposeful and filled with affection. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. She knew that smile, that familiar glint in his eyes. It was Franklin, but this wasn't the Franklin she knew. This man exuded a different kind of confidence, a quiet authority that spoke volumes. As he reached her, he knelt down, taking her hands in his. "Amelia, my darling," he said, his voice filled with a tenderness that melted away the last vestiges of her hurt. "Are you all right? You seem a little upset." Amelia's voice trembled as she recounted her experience at the boutique, the humiliation, the judgment, the dismissive words. Franklin listened intently, his expression growing darker with each word. When she finished, a muscle twitched in his jaw. "They treated you like that?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. Amelia nodded, tears finally welling up at her eyes. "It was awful, Franklin. They made me feel so small." Franklin gently wiped away her tears with his thumb. "My sweet Amelia," he said, his eyes filled with love and a hint of something else, something that Amelia had never quite seen before. "Those people, they don't know who you are. They only see the surface." He stood up, extending a hand to help her to her feet. "Come on, my love. Let's go get you that dress." Amelia hesitated. "But, Franklin, an SUV in your suit." He smiled a genuine, heart-melting smile. "Let's just say I had a very important meeting today. And as for the SUV, well, sometimes it's just more convenient." He led her across the street to the waiting SUV. The chauffeur opened the door, and Amelia slid into the luxurious leather seats, feeling a strange mix of apprehension and excitement. Franklin sat beside her, taking her hand in his. "Don't worry about a thing, Amelia," he said, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "I promise you, things are going to be very different this time." The SUV pulled away from the curb and headed back towards Elegance Defined. As they approached the boutique, Amelia felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. She didn't want to go back there, not after the way she had been treated. But Franklin's gaze was firm. "Trust me," he whispered. The SUV stopped in front of the boutique. The chauffeur opened the door, and Franklin stepped out, then turned to help Amelia. As they walked towards the entrance, Amelia noticed the stunned looks on the faces of the people passing by. Franklin's presence commanded attention, his expensive suit and the sleek black SUV radiating an undeniable aura of wealth and power. As they entered the boutique, the bell above the door chimed again, but this time the atmosphere was different. The sales assistants, who had completely ignored Amelia just an hour ago, now stood frozen, their eyes wide with disbelief. Beatrice, the manager, looked as if she had seen a ghost. Franklin walked directly to Beatrice, his gaze unwavering. "My wife was here earlier," he said, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable weight of authority. She was looking at a blue lace dress. "I believe you treated her with considerable disrespect." Beatrice stammered, her face pale. "Sir, I don't recall." "Oh, I think you do," Franklin interrupted, his voice hardening. "You judge her based on her appearance. You made her feel unwelcome. You told her to go to a discount store. The other sales assistants shifted uncomfortably, their earlier smugness replaced with a palpable fear. Amelia stood beside Franklin, feeling a sense of vindication she hadn't expected. Franklin turned to Amelia, his eyes softening. "My love, show me the dress you liked." Amelia led him to the rack where the blue dress hung. Franklin examined it, his touch gentle. "It's beautiful," he said, turning back to Beatrice. "We'll take it, and everything else my wife wants in this store." Beatrice's jaw dropped. "Sir, are you serious?" Franklin's gaze was icy, perfectly serious. "You see, Beatrice, my wife may look simple to you, but she is the most precious person in my life, and anyone who treats her with disrespect will have an answer to me." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I happen to own this entire block, including this little boutique of yours. Perhaps you should be more careful about how you treat people." The color drained from Beatrice's face. The other sales assistants looked like they might faint. Amelia watched in stunned silence as Franklin instructed them to pack everything Amelia desired. The blue dress, of course, but also several other beautiful outfits and a stunning diamond necklace that caught her eye. As they left the boutique, Amelia's arms were filled with shopping bags. Beatrice and her staff stood at the door, their faces a mixture of shock and regret. Franklin opened the car door for Amelia, and as she slid inside, she couldn't help but smile. Later that evening, dressed in the beautiful blue lace dress, Amelia sat across from Franklin at their anniversary dinner. The restaurant was elegant, the atmosphere romantic. "Thank you, Franklin," she said, her voice filled with emotion, "for everything." Franklin reached across the table and took her hand. "Amelia, my love, you are my world. Never let anyone make you feel less than you are. True worth comes from within, not from what you wear or what you own." As they celebrated their 10th anniversary, Amelia knew that she was loved, truly loved, for the person she was inside. The incident at the boutique had been painful, but it had also revealed a truth, that appearances can be deceiving and that the most valuable things in life are often hidden beneath a simple exterior. The world is full of people who might judge you based on how you look or what you have. But remember, their opinions don't define your worth. Your value lies in your kindness, your integrity, and the love you share with others. Never let anyone make you feel small. You are unique, you are special, and you are worthy of all the good things life has to offer. And sometimes the quietest people have the loudest love and the most powerful support standing right beside them.